Hey, what's going on, everyone? How's everyone doing? It's been a little while since I've made a YouTube video. Just been busy with stuff. A lot going on in my life right now. A lot of good things, nothing bad. So that's good. So just been real busy. Anyway, here's my Honda Aquatrax R12X. This is the turbocharged model. And today we're just going to talk about how to maintain these jet skis, how to keep them running well, and I'm going to try the best I can to remember some questions, some frequent questions that's addressed in the group, the groups that I'm in on Facebook. And if you're not familiar with those groups, one of them is Honda Aquatrax Performance, and the other good group is Honda Aquatrax Enthusiast. Go check out those two groups. If you're new to these jet skis, you're going to want to be in one of those groups. There's a lot of good people in there, a lot of wizards in there that know a lot about these jet skis and know how they work, how to maintain them. And if you have any questions, let them know, because they will be able to help you out, no questions asked. So anyway, well, let's get into it. I'm going to try not to make this video super long. Just going to address a few things here and there to keep these jet skis running right. One is, a lot of people ask, what type of oil, how often should I change the oil, and as far as that goes, and spark plugs is another big one. So my personal maintenance plan for these jet skis are, and not everyone's going to agree with that, and I understand that. Don't grill me, don't get upset with me for my maintenance plan. This is just what I do and what works for me. Every season, every year, I change the oil in my jet ski every year. For spark plugs, I change the spark plugs every other year. If you've ever gotten into the market and seen how expensive spark plugs are for these jet skis and how expensive oil can be, and to me, I consider it kind of pricey. If you're someone who's well off and has a means to purchase the higher end stuff, then that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. That's awesome. For me, it's a little pricey with my situation right now. Spark plugs are around $80, I think, for four spark plugs on this thing is $80. Oil is kind of the same way. Oil, I want to say, unless you get the genuine Honda oil, it runs about $40, $45. But I run full synthetic in this. I run Mobil 1. This is what it's called, Mobil 1 4T 10W40 racing motorcycle oil. That's a lot, but it's Mobil 1 full synthetic motorcycle oil, 10W40. And based on how much you want to put in this is how much should come out. If you ever take 2 quarts of oil out of this thing, that's actually very low on oil. These things should be running around 4.5 to 5 quarts of oil. I always try to put 4.5 in mine. That's just what I like. Again, you could probably refer to the manual. It'll tell you exactly how much oil to put in with a new oil filter. Next, I'll talk about how to check the oil in these, because not a lot of people seem to know how to. A lot of new people don't know how to check the oil, but a lot of people. This is your oil dipstick right here, and what happens is when this jet ski is off, all your oil has accumulated in the sump of this engine. But when it's running is a different story. These engines, because you're out on the water, they experience high G's. If you're ever doing high, quick turns or high G, like a wide turn that you got some good G forces going. They have a dry sump in these. It means the sump actually has no oil in it. The oil, that's actually where the oil collects after it's been used, or where it was, where it was lubricating the engine at. It accumulates in the bottom. There's an oil pump that pumps it to the front right here. So this actually is an oil tank that fills up with oil when the jet ski is running. If you ever look down in there, when the jet ski is running, you'll see it churning in there, and that's just the oil pump pumping oil. It's continuously pumping oil into this thing, and you'll see a little bit of turbulence in there, and that's normal. But this is not where you check the oil at, right here. You actually want to check the oil back here in the back. See this right here, and it's hard to do because I've got one hand, but this right there, this is where you want to check the oil. So you unscrew this, unscrew that, and whenever you do check the oil, make sure the ski has been running for 2 or 3 minutes, maybe 5. I'm not sure the time frame, but you just want to make sure it's been running for about 5 minutes. I'm going to say 5. Make sure the ski is level. And everybody asks, well, how do you know your jet ski is level? I mean, just kind of eyeball it. It doesn't have to be perfect, you know, just make sure it looks kind of level. I mean, I think the way it's sitting on my truck, it would be considered level. Don't check it in the water. Check it on the trailer on a flat surface. If you have a jacked up truck, you might want to take your ski off and then use the trailer jack to level it that way. But this right here is what I would consider level for the most part. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to get in here with a level gauge and really measure it. Anyway, after your ski ran for about 5 minutes, you take your dipstick right here and you take it and you stick it down in here just like this. I mean, it's not going to screw in. It will not screw in. You just have to butt the plastic of the dipstick up against the hole down there, the metal hole, and that's how you check the oil. Now mine's going to be as full as it can be because I haven't had my jet ski running. Yeah, it's way over the top. But normally you would check it and it would be about halfway up the dipstick. Just as long as you see it on the dipstick in that aspect, you should be okay. So there's that. Another question I see, I don't know if it's frequent, but sometimes people will ask, what's this right here? This is just a service port for when you store your jet ski over the winter, or if it's not going to run for a very long time. You unscrew this, and all it does is just give you access to this tube right here, and it runs to two of the 4 throttle bodies right here. And the other end, same thing. It goes to 2 of the 4 throttle bodies down this way. And all it is you just get some fogging oil, I think is what, I've never used fogging oil. I always just use WD-40. Again, people are probably gonna fuss at me for that, but I've always been a WD-40 fan. WD is water displacement, so it gets rid of any water anywhere, and it kind of acts as a lubricant to keep everything lubed up. But all it is you just unscrew this in half. I mean, I can't do it right now. I only have one hand. You spray some down here, and you spray some this other way, and it just keeps your throttle bodies lubricated and oiled up over winter or any lengthy storage period. So all this is just a maintenance port right here. So there's that. What else? So then I'll go ahead and talk about water in the oil. A lot of people, I got water in my oil. What do I do? Water's in my oil. Well, when water is introduced into the oil, you're going to want to get it out. You're going to have to, what I usually do is, I've had it happen once on this jet ski only because I rolled it over, and I think I rolled it back the wrong way. You're going to want to flush out your oil a lot. Usually, I think I went and got like 4 5-quart jugs of the cheapest oil I could find, 10W30 cheap oil. Like, I think it was STP. Where I'm at, it's STP. And I just continuously flushed it. I would fill it up with oil, run it for a little bit, take it out, put in fresh oil, run it, and then so forth. And then when I felt that it was changed out well enough, I went on ahead back in with my good full synthetic oil. Haven't had any problems there. But what I really want to talk about is how water can get introduced in your oil. Well, a lot of people think it can come from the exhaust manifold. The manifolds in the specifically the turbo models. Here, I'm going to go on the other side so you can see. The manifold specifically in the turbo models will develop holes within the manifold that it's hard to explain, but there's holes that will be developed. It depends on whatever cylinder it is. Sometimes, I think it's always mostly on the front cylinders, where water will be introduced into that hole. So, and people will say that water's coming in through the manifold, but if you think about it, your engine's running, it's constantly pushing exhaust gases out. So I don't think water can come in that way. Maybe unless your jet ski sits for a little while. And the way water would come in is that there's the entire exhaust manifold is water jacketed. So there's constantly water running through the exhaust manifold to keep it cool while you're driving. So in any way, I think what really happens is the engine's pushing exhaust gases out, and water is just being forced further downstream of the exhaust. It'll go into your turbo, and then you can have issues there. It might seize up your turbo or something like that. I'm not going to get too deep into it because that's not what this video is really for. Anyway, but really the main area where water can come in your engine is up front. Believe it or not, in this oil sump or oil tank, it's like an oil tank, there's an oil cooler in there, and that cooler has two O-rings. There's a water in and water out, and so that water passes through what is kind of like a radiator. It almost looks like a radiator, and so it's to keep that oil cool. Cold water comes in, hot water goes out, and those O-rings tend to fail over time. This jet ski is a 2003 model or something like that. I've had it for about 2 years now. I don't know if those oil rings have ever been replaced in mine. I'm not 100% sure. But my jet ski's been okay. But always check, I'm going to go back on the other side. Always check that oil tank. Or that's more than likely where your water is being introduced into your oil. Right here. The only way to get this off, I know some people have been able to get it off by unstrap. You have to unstrap the gas tank. The gas tank is held on by two straps, and they're able to push that gas tank like a ½ inch forward, barely. It's however much it allows you to push that gas tank forward, and they're able to get this cover off by doing that. The only other way to get this cover off is you have to pull the engine. If you want to do it, if you want to be able to get down and look down in there and see what you're doing on all, there's bolts, there's, you know, bolt here, and they wrap all the way around the jet ski, or all the way around the tank. It's to pull the engine. It's the only other way to get this off, this front piece off. More than likely where your water's going to come in. I don't know, I mean, I haven't had to do any of that yet, so my information is limited because I've never had to do that, but from what I understand, you got to pull this tank off to get to the oil cooler, to get to the O-rings, to check to see if they have, if they're busted or failed or is leaking water into your oil, because this is where your oil tank is, right there. Last thing I want to touch on is the jet pump on these. How I will come out with a video how to completely rebuild the jet pump. I should have made a video back whenever I did it. I rebuilt this one, and I rebuilt the one on my R12. They both run fantastically. But, you know, maybe every 100 hours, I would say 100 hours, you really need to be checking the there's a plastic cone inside this pump. You won't be able to see it because I have the reverse bucket down, but there's a plastic cone in here with 3 Allen screws. You just unscrew those screws, pull them off, and just check. You just want to make sure your oil is not contaminated, or the grease inside here is not contaminated with oil. I mean with water. I'm sorry, water. And if there is, you need to rebuild it. You usually have to get some new seals, and if you're apt to do so, get new bearings. When I rebuilt mine, I didn't get new bearings. My bearings were just fine. They were smooth as butter, so I felt it wasn't necessary to get new bearings. Only seals. So it's not hard to pull this thing off. There's 4 bolts that hold the main housing on, and you have to pull off the reverse bucket. One right here, one right here, And I think you can actually take this bolt off and leave this mechanism on, or if you want to take this mechanism off, you have to pull this bolt right there, this bolt right here. So not hard, just a few basic sockets. I think those are 12mm back there, and these are 10. So you just want to make sure you check your pump every so often. All right, next we'll talk about is the turbocharger. So on the turbocharged models, a lot of people ask about the turbo actuator. A lot of times these things in these jet skis, this right here, will fail. I'm not sure how they fail, they just fail. I think I've seen one where the bracket that held it on rusted completely off, and this was just moving freely. This whole piece was just moving freely in here. Luckily mine's been okay. I mean, I think a lot of that is surface rust. I mean, I do the best I can to maintain it. But so to check these actuators right here, I mean, they're really, really stiff to move. And that's what you want. You want them to be kind of hard to move. But a good way to check them is, so I got this 16mm wrench right here. You just bring it in here like this. And I saw this on another video. You just stick it on here right like this, and see how it actuates just like that. And you want it to spring back into place. See that? See, I'm actually putting force to all the way. So that's with the wastegate open. This is what they call the wastegate actuator, and that's all the way open. And now and then it just pulls it. I'm not pushing it back, it's pulling it back itself. That's what you want. As long as you feel some tension and spring-loaded motion right here, that's what you want to feel. So that's how you go about checking the wastegate actuator on the turbocharger. So there's that. One of the other last things is, a lot of people will say, I hear a rattling sound in my jet ski. Well, the rattling sound, for the most part, is normal on these Hondas from what I understand. But that rattling sound's it's gonna be hard to see on mine because I have the straight pipe on mine. The rattling sound is gonna come from where the shaft is right there. There is your through hull bearing, and to service that, and again, my jet ski is going to be different because I took out the exhaust, but here's the grease port for it. You want to do 2 or 3 squirts of grease. I don't know, maybe once a season, maybe. If you want to do it a little more frequently, you can. But so you do 2 to 3 pumps of grease in this. Yours will actually be sitting, I think, right here. In the stock skis, if you have a stock exhaust, yours will actually be sitting right here, so you can't miss it. It's going to be looking right at you, dead in the face. And it just feeds down into this through-hole bearing. So you can see the through-hole bearing right here. And there's 2 bearings in that. So yeah, those need to be greased. Keep them greased frequently, otherwise you'll have problems later down the road. But this is a big ticket maintenance item right here. Make sure you put some grease in this thing every so often, and you don't have to do it every ride, just every so often. So, and these things tend to rattle a lot, so, and it's normal. As long as there's grease in there, you'll be okay. The rattling is normal. And I think that's really about all I have for this video. I do have some other videos I want to come out with. Like I said, I want to do a video on how to completely rebuild a pump on these. That's one of the questions that's asked a lot. You know, what kind of grease to use. You always want to use marine grease. It could be any marine grease. It doesn't have to be just anything that can withstand the elements in the water. Marine grease. Marine is like fishing and water sports, stuff like that. So that's all I have for this video, I believe. So with that being said, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. It's hot. I'm down in Louisiana. It's hot. I'm sweating. So y'all take care. Have a good one.